It's very important for other people to see this roundtable. We are really grateful to the Goethe-Institut. Today is January 27th, International Day of Commemoration of the Victims of the Holocaust, and you know that our center, together with the Goethe-Institut, is holding this roundtable for years. This is the third roundtable since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. It's like almost 11 years of the war of Russian aggression against us, and the memory of the Jewish of the Holocaust and the Stalin atrocities, they are among us. Our country is really heroic, and we commemorate the memory of the victims of those regimes. And it would be very important for us to begin this roundtable with a minute of silence in commemoration of the victims of the Holocaust, of the victims of the modern war. Thank you so much. According to our agenda, the floor is mine now. It's my turn to introduce everyone, and I would like to give a word to the director of the Goethe-Institut. He is alive, he is well, he always happy to see us, but unfortunately this year and last year and the year before last, he will greet the participants of the roundtable online. So I am giving the floor to Fabian Mühlthaler, and please pay attention on the screen.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear participants and guests of this year's roundtable on the occasion of the International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Since many years, the Ukrainian Center for Holocaust Studies organizes this important event together with the Goethe-Institut Ukraine. And it is our honor and privilege to not only facilitate the commemoration of the Shoah with the center and many other partners, but also to use the occasion to look into the future. Also in this year, our traditional roundtable takes place under the terrible conditions of the brutal terrorist war of aggression against Ukraine. Russia justifies its terror with manipulative and false historical narratives and uses the trauma of genocidal occupation of Nazi Germany and the crimes committed in a falsified way. It is hard to imagine how a more indignified and shameful usage of distortive memory culture might look like. The Ukrainian society, since long time ago, has taken the challenging road of a nuanced, differentiating memory culture, not only in the regard of the Shoah, and we are honored to support many initiatives who are committed to this approach. Even in times of brutal war, these initiatives continue their work, and so also our roundtable on this day of commemoration is taking place despite error alerts, danger and distortion. It is yet another manifestation of the incredible resilience and fortitude of our Ukrainian partners. In our EU-funded project called House of Europe, we have since a few months a new focus on national minorities and especially Jewish life in Ukraine. We are very happy that in this year we support this roundtable to a large extent with European funds from the House of Europe projects. This reflects our wish to widen the European dimension of memory culture in Ukraine and to support the further integration of Ukrainian society into Europe. Already this year we were able to invite participants from several European countries, and we are looking forward to intensify this dynamic in the coming years. We wish everyone undisturbed, safe and inspiring discussions and hope that in the next year our roundtable can take place again without any limitations in a free, sovereign and peaceful Ukraine.
Thank you very much for great words, Fabian. Let it be so. And now I would like to send my best greetings to Fabian. And also, I would like to say that it is stated House of Europe in our program. This is a good partner of Goethe-Institut, and they helped us to organize the round table. And this is our partner for many years, the Embassy of Germany. There are a lot of projects very famous in Ukraine, project dedicated to such project as network of memory, and a lot of projects are supported by the Embassy of Germany. And I would like to say that His Excellency is ill now, but I would like to present you to Mr. Tim Prange. He is Deputy Ambassador, and I would like to give the floor to Mr. Tim.
Thank you very much. This day is always very heavy for a German diplomat and for Germans in general. I mean, 25 marks the 80th commemoration of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau and other concentration camps, ending unspeakable suffering. And January 27th is symbolic for the brutal murder of millions of Jewish lives, of Sinti and Roma, homosexuals, disabled, and of people who were just qualified as unworthy of life. It is very difficult, but in my past, in 2005, I worked as a volunteer at the 60th commemoration of the liberation of the Sachsenhausen concentration camp close to Berlin. And I worked with the US, with the Israeli and with the Ukrainian delegation of survivors and their families. And I can tell you it was deeply humbling. Seeing the people, the first-time returnees to the concentration camp in their old ages, walking through the barracks, reliving their pain in part, but also really looking into the profanity of the place now, not being able to relate to the pain that happened and the things that happened to them at the point when they were there interned. And I asked one of the US survivors, an old gentleman, and I asked him, how did you cope with this? How did you manage your life with this experience? And it was really touching. He looked at his wife, who was standing a little bit further away, and he smiled. And at that moment, she turned and she waved a little bit at him, and they smiled at each other. And then he smiled at me and said, "It was all her." And it was so touching, because in this moment you can really see humans at their worst and humans at their best directly linked and close together. I never forget that. And so this is why I mention exactly this Mr. Fischler and his wife, and why I mention Hannah Carmel, who was also there, and why we should mention so many more names and remember them, because they deserve that their memory is kept alive. Because today we see this alarming resurgence of anti-Semitism, of hatred, of racism, which undermines dignity and humanity. And we must remain vigilant, and we must educate the young people so that this promise of never again really counts. We must not, and we will not forget what has happened, but we must also not be oblivious to what can happen. And I think yesterday we opened your fantastic new exhibition, which actually does exactly that. It tells a story about Jewish life, and not only about the Holocaust, which is crucial and important, but also about Jewish life, how it continues here in Ukraine, how it was in Ukraine. And I think this is so important, because Ukraine and Ukrainian Jews have suffered so immensely during the Holocaust. Probably 1 out of 6 Jews dying in the Holocaust were from Ukraine. I mean, that number alone tells you how much suffering happened in this country. And as Germany, we do understand the responsibility, and we support projects here in Ukraine aimed at preserving the memory of the Holocaust. I recall the Stolen Childhood exhibition, which was amazing, really putting the focus on children as the victims of the Holocaust, and describing the inhumane nature of the whole machinery, and also shedding light at single individuals who died. And the plan is also to pick up the Stumbling Blocks project, which together with the Ukrainian Center for Holocaust Studies, we have, due to the war, stopped for a moment, but now we're picking it up again. It's about these little name plaques in front of the houses of Holocaust victims, which we have in Germany, here, and in many countries in the world, which I think pay a wonderful tribute to the people in front of their former houses, making a contribution not to forget them. And of course, it's difficult. I mean, the links and the comparisons also between the past and the present are sensitive, and we've discussed it many times. It's sometimes also painful, and without diminishing the pain that Ukrainians are suffering today, again due to the Russian aggression. I would like to underline that for us, for Germany, we will never forget the unique and the dark nature of the Holocaust. This is why initiatives such as today's roundtable are so crucial. They provide a platform to preserve the memory of the victims of the past while addressing injustices also today. And they help us to draw the right lessons from the past also. So I wish you productive and meaningful discussions, and I hope they bring about a lot of new ideas and that they strengthen our partnership and our shared mission. Thank you.
Mr. Prange, many thanks to you. You are absolutely right. A lot of projects dedicated to the memorialization are established together with the government of Germany. Also, the Jewish community of Düsseldorf is helping us, and this demonstrates your attitude towards us and our memory. And we are going to talk a lot today that actually this phrase, this motto, never again, it hasn't helped. When colleagues from Europe are asking what challenges do we have in presenting the topic of Holocaust in education, our challenge in Ukraine in this topic is awful. We are attacked by Russia, and in the circumstances of war, we are still continuing to preserve the memory about Holocaust and the memory about the victims of the Second World War. It's also sort of tool to fight Russian aggression. Russia is destroying monuments in Babyn, in Drogobych Yar in Kharkiv. Russia is destroying places where the Nazis were killing the Jews, and we're preserving these places. And I would like to give the floor to our partner from the Polish Institute. Today is the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. National Socialism did a lot of harm in Poland and in Ukraine, and I'm very glad now to give the floor to Mr. Jarosław Godun, director of the Polish Institute in Kyiv. Mr. Jarosław, I do know that Mr. Jarosław speaks Ukrainian very well. His Ukrainian is brilliant, and Mr. Jarosław, I would like to give the floor to you. Many thanks to Mr. Anatoly and Goethe-Institut Ukraine.
Studii nad Holocaustem. Це неймовірно, в цей дуже складний час для нас всіх тут в Україні.
And now we, in these very difficult, very heavy conditions, we have the platform, we gather together to memorize the terrible events that took place during the Second World War. For me, it's a great honor to be with you today, to be present at this round table dedicated to the memory on Holocaust and the modern challenges, how to preserve the memory in modern society. Today is a very important date, and this is the 80th anniversary of liberation of concentration camp Auschwitz-Birkenau, and also the International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Today, on the territory of Auschwitz-Birkenau, there is an official ceremony with the representatives of governments, international organizations, public, and of course, ex-prisoners. For Poland, the topic of Holocaust is extremely important. Polish land was forced to be a place for terrible crimes during the Second World War. Here in the concentration camps established by Nazis, Jewish people, Polish people, Roma people, and other people were murdered. And it's very important to preserve this memory, to learn it, and to give the floor in the remembrance for the next generation. Polish Institute is responsible for preserving the memory. The Museum of Auschwitz-Birkenau is one of the most prominent places in the world, attended by millions of people. Other institutions, the Museum of Polin. This is the museum dedicated to the history of Polish Jews. And other institutions, they all have very important educational programs and studies. The memory of Holocaust remind us of the fact how important it is, how hatred can bloom, how discrimination can influence. Today, the war of Russia against Ukraine shows that these topics are still topical. This is also a call for being united in order to fight anti-Semitism, racism, and other forms of hatred that are still existing in our society, I mean in the world. As you see, people from Poland, Ukraine, Germany, Austria, people are working together. 80 years ago, these nations were in different places, so to say, and now the representatives of these nations are together and they're telling each other, and I forgive you and I ask for your forgiveness. And it is very important to show to other generations that this is not a symbolic gesture, this is our reality. So I would like to express my gratitude to Ukrainian Center for Holocaust Studies, for the Embassy of Germany, for Goethe-Institut, that they all gathered us at this platform. This round table is a platform for the preservation of memory, a platform to think and rethink of very complex past. And we need to talk about these words.
And it is very important to talk about it, because those words, never again, they have sounds, they not should be like a simply words, but they should be like an action. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Jarosław. we have here a great community of Ukrainian educators and those institutions that you named. We collaborate with them for years, and those who know about our project that lasts for the last 20 years. It's the project seminar Robert Kowalik, and this is a project that we're working together for years. And this is the project about the victims of Holocaust that is held in our friendly country, Poland. And the approaches, these methodics that we developed during this project, our educators use, and I think it's very important to know this. And this is not a compliment from me, it's just like a truth, that we have a great cooperation with our Polish colleagues. Also, I have a great pleasure. Like we have this, our partners, the Goethe-Institut, we have everything here prepared, very well prepared. And I would like to give a floor, I'm really pleased to give a floor to Rosa Tapanova, who is the director of the National Historical Memorial Reserve Babyn, who is our great partner with whom we work on different projects. So, Ms. Rosa Tapanova, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for your attention. Unfortunately, today we have those days when we are busy and there is a request for the knowledge of the history. We have this joke that we see each other every day and we talk and we think, especially during this full-scale invasion, and everybody remembers the March 1st of 2022, when we had new challenges, not only to preserve the memory, but how to act today on the history today, on the present history. We have lots of questions from people. They ask what is most important and why are we talking about the past? And we took up this challenge that in 2023 we started restoration of a temporary, we opened a temporary center, the Memory That Alive. We know that lots of remembrance places are places about the past that you don't want even to visit because it's very hard and they are so sort of closed. And normally those places never elicit good emotions from you. Sometimes you feel like so pressured, especially after visiting like Auschwitz. It's like you're entering an abyss of emotional abyss that you have to recover from. And me and my team, we decided to take up the challenge on how can we return the wish and to promote people to visit our places and not close up from this important topic. So they get the answers and sometimes get some questions on what had happened and on what happening now, on how much don't we know and about the changes during our history. And we are really grateful to our partners for the exhibition Stolen Childhood, where we explained several stories of the kids from Babyn Yar. And we have shown what does it mean, the stolen childhood, about the kids that were stolen from our country now. And what does it mean when the kids were taken from the country, and what is the meaning to their community? And we understand now that when we are trying to hold some exhibitions, we have a lot of questions from our colleagues who are holding their exhibitions, because we have shown through the art we promoted other people to think about the totalitarian regime and what we are fight against now. And as Anatoly mentioned recently, the memories and our platform, this roundtable, is our force actually of how to stand against, of how to make certain decisions every day to make it work, to make it really never again. But we know, of course, that this slogan, never again, it's not only the decision of the country, of the state level, but this is a decision of each person. It's a personal decision. And in each situation, you can make this decision. And we are really grateful that we have made this project. We made this little alley where we put some plates with a history of some people. And when we have kids visiting, they are asking, how come those people made those decisions? And especially when they're asking about the rightness among the nations. And kids are asking, why did they make these decisions? And it's all about your conscience and what it tells you to do. That's what we tell our kids. Another project that we are working on is memorial concerts, and this we are holding some music there, some musical events, and it should not always be a sad music. It's because this is a decision between life, between death, between love. And we are happy that lots of kids, even small kids, are coming to our exhibition with parents. And now it's sort of like a tradition when they visit not just twice a year, but visit much more often. Yesterday's exhibition, during the opening the exhibition, I was really happy because we were discussing with our team how to show not just like a separate moments of life, but the whole history that during the centuries of Ukrainian Jewish. For Ukrainian to understand that we had Jewish people living among us, and they had like their life, that they are not strangers. They lived among us. When we had this exhibition from Bakhmut, Jewish people who were living in Bakhmut, and we had some visitors who were asking, so who were the real victims of the atrocities? And we gave them those answers. And today, working with a memory is not just like, lighting the candle. Of course, there are lots of important projects like stumbling stones. I'm really happy when I see in different cities in our country, when I see these stumble stones, I'm really grateful. But also we have to think about the minorities and their right violation in our countries. We have to think about other genocides and what people are losing during those genocides. And also, we had those projects where we have shown the route of Ukrainian Jews on September 29th and their destinies and what they were fighting of. And when we have kids visiting our center, we are talking also about Holodomor, we are talking about the deportation of Tatars, we are talking about lots of atrocities and sad pages of history of our country. I'm really sorry that I'm talking like really much, I think now, but I would like also to know that I'm very grateful to be part of this roundtable, and thank you very much to everyone. Thank you, my dear colleagues. Our official part is over. Rosa said like everything that I wanted to add. I think she just took up 80% of what I wanted to say. I'm really grateful to all our speakers, and I would like to make a few notes on the right of being a moderator of this event. So firstly, the most important thing is that we have this unique situation now when we are commemorating Holocaust during the full invasion. It's our third event now in 2025. And very important is that we are saying what Jarosław already mentioned about the Nazi camp, how you said that it was like a German Nazi camp, Auschwitz-Birkenau. And I remember the discussions in the beginning of 21st century, when Polish historians were referring to the post-Soviet area. And I would like to mention that our country is now not a post-Soviet area. You know, we are out of it, because our famous historian said that let's make it a criminal offense to people implied to people who are saying that Ukrainian state is like a post-Soviet country, because I think we suffered enough to make us not like post-Soviet country. Because this is like a language of the Soviet books, Soviet documents. We are over it. And this Nazi camp for Jews, or is it like... it's all about how we form our phrases. We passed like through a lot of events and everything, and I would like to mention that we are already out of this definition of being a post-Soviet country, because during our history we had so misinterpreted history facts and everything, and it was really hard to conquer it, but now we are over it. The second thing that I would like to mention is about the graduates of our project. I remember the seminar that was held in 2010. It was 15 years ago. I don't even know why do I remember the exact date. But we have one of the participants of the seminar. Her name was Olena Ivanova. She was a psychologist from the Kyiv University. My colleagues know her, and she was working in our center for years, and she was teaching too. So she was attending this seminar in 2010, and the seminar was devoted to Lublin, and we were actually spending the night next to Auschwitz. And I remember that when we had the guided tour in Auschwitz in the morning, she said that Anatoly, if I would be younger, I would be here. And in the beginning, and she was living in Saltivka in Kharkiv, so she has lost her apartment during the first week of full-scale invasion. She called me and she said, like, I have nothing left on me. I was just like wearing what I had, and like I didn't have any like documents with me or anything. So she is Ukrainian professor who didn't die in Auschwitz, but she has lost her apartment because of Russians. So she had like a really hard time. She has spent like 1 month in Vinnytsia, 1 month in Lviv, and then she was like 76 years old, and now she's 78, and she didn't have any like relatives or anyone, but she had lots of support from friends and colleagues, and finally she found some relatives in Latvia. And she had there was like some fundraising from her students to help to support her, so she left there to Riga, and she was spending some time there, and then she called me and said, you know, like I can't be there for such a long time, you know, like how it's difficult is for the older person to live with relatives. We all know that. After that she moved to Israel, to Haifa, because she had a right, because she is like ethnical Jewish, and she moved there.
Today, Russia and Hamas and Hezbollah, Iran, actually this is one row of terrorists. It is impossible to negotiate with the criminals and murderers. There is no way to negotiate with the murderers. And this is the example how everything is interlinked. The second thing, what Madam Rosa has mentioned, this small period, actually, we have a lot of projects dedicated to the Second World War, but in fact they are not dedicated to the Second World War. They are dedicated to rethinking how it can help us to understand what is going now, especially this project which is called Mirrors, and the crimes of Nazism, communism, and today's Russian ideology that is marked and called Russism today. And the project Bykivnya, Babyn Yar, Bucha, this project is very similar, for example, to the exhibition in Bakhmut. Bakhmut was destroyed by the Russians. The memorial of Holodomor and Babyn Yar Reserve and our center, we all work to preserve the memory. And important thing I would like to say, probably this will be my final words for this panel. There is a parallel, never again, never works. We must reject this. We must reject even not the Russian language, but the language of regime. The Soviet language must be forgotten. Maxim Butkevich was liberated. He spent 2 years in the project, and he says that in Lugansk there is a prison. And in that prison, I survived thanks to Viktor Frankl's work, which is called A Human Being in the Search of Sense. A teacher from Energodar told me that now there is a concentration camp in Energodar for those Ukrainians who refuse to take Russian passports. Isolation, prison. This is modern Auschwitz that Russia launched on the occupied territories of Ukraine. Isolation in Donetsk was launched in 2014, and other prisons. We can't say never again because we have this pain again. This is the big challenge for us for today. That's why we have in this room the representatives of public sector, of education, of culture, people, Jewish people contributed to the Ukraine's history and Ukraine's culture. And now on the front line there are Jewish people, Polish people, representatives of other nations. This is our history. It is not alienated from the history of Ukraine. It's all our history. That's why this round table underlines the parallels, what we can take from the memory and experience of the Second World War to use it for the sake of Ukraine nowadays. I can't mention all the surnames, but I would like to draw your attention to the program, to the agenda of our roundtable. This agenda will work for all of us. I'm very pleased that so many prominent people are here. And Madam Lesia Hadzichak and Madam Rosa, Mr. Matthias Richter, they are all with us today. Matthias Richter is the representative of the Jewish community in Düsseldorf. Mr. Sirota also will come from Vienna. And you probably know that our roundtables are always platforms for think, but not to be silent. our colleague said that let's stop being afraid of our past. Mr. Zabarko is here. Mr. Zabarko is a Holocaust survivor. Mr. Zabarko is PhD. He is with us today, and this is a great honor for us. And Mr. Boris, after the break, I will give you the floor, and we will give you the floor right after the break.